This is a Sports Catastrophe production. Hey there, Heather, ho there, it's Jeff Cutastrophe. Welcome you to another Sports Catastrophe birthday boy. And the birthday boy for today, October the 20th, is a New York Mets legend, even though that he did win a title with the St. Louis Cardinals. And he did win an MVP award while being a St. Louis Cardinal. But anyway, he was one of the two guys to win the 1979 NL MVP. Won two World Series titles, one with the 82 Cardinals and one with the 86 Mets. And since '98, he's been the color commentator for the Mets TV broadcasts. He had a good hitting productivity and all of that. And for some strange reason, he's still not in the Hall of Fame. But he is Keith Hernandez. Of course, I'll talk about the Seinfeld effect later. But anyway, Keith Hernandez now turns 69 years old. Stop it. Anyway, so he played briefly at the College of San Mateo Community College and was actually drafted in the 42nd round of the 1971 MLB draft, making him the 783rd player in that draft. Can you believe it? St. Louis drafted him in the 42nd round. I wonder what pick St. Louis had in that round, but it doesn't matter. So anyway, Keith Hernandez actually has a passion for the Civil War because Hernandez's brother bought a book on Civil War history, and Hernandez talked about the Civil War and all of that. He was on KMOX radio with the Cardinals, New York Times featured when he was the Mets, and been on Seinfeld. Anyway, Keith Hernandez went up to the majors in 1974. First game with the Cardinals, he went 1 for 2 with 2 walks. The Cardinals were so stoked about Hernandez, they traded Joe Torre, who was a first baseman, to the Mets to make room for their budding young prospect, for Ray Sadecki, getting Sadecki back. Yeah, it's surprised they traded Joe Torre to keep Hernandez there. Hernandez struggled with Major League pitching. He wore number 18 for the Cardinals, and then he decided to change it to 37 because his 7 was in honor of Mickey Mantle, with whom he shared a birthday with. So anyway, Hernandez was a great fielder and all that. In 1978, he won the Gold Glove from Steve Garvey, which was hard to do. And in 1979, Hernandez's batting went through the roof. He led the NL with a .344 batting average, put up 48 doubles and 116 runs. And unfortunately, he shared the trophy with Willie Stargell. They both had the same amount of points. Can you imagine that nowadays, having 2 players win the same award? However, that was the key to Keith Hernandez doing better, as he was a perennial .300 hitter and one of the top stars in the National League. Cardinals were the World Series champions in 1982, although it took 7 games to do so. Hernandez did quite well. Hernandez picked up 8 RBIs in that 1982 series. Unfortunately, Hernandez had troubles with Cardinal management, especially manager Whitey Herzog. So St. Louis decided to get rid of him to the Mets for Neil Allen and Rick Ownby. Herzog said that Hernandez was a cancer on the team. And Hernandez actually said that his cocaine use while playing for the Cardinals was the impediment for the trade. And said that after he was traded to the Mets, he had no need for the nose sugar, the booger sugar, if you will. Hernandez couldn't wear his number 37 with the Mets because they retired that for Casey Stengel. So he turned to 17, which wasn't that bad. So Hernandez was determined to prove Whitey Herzog wrong for trading him, and how wrong the Cardinals were. The 84 Mets had their first winning season in 8 years. They won 90 games and did better than the Cardinals in the NL East. Hernandez actually finished second in MVP voting behind Ryan Sandberg and would be named captain of the team. So with him, Darryl Strawberry, Dwight Gooden, the sky was the limit for the Mets. Anyway, Hernandez had such a strong and accurate throwing arm, the Mets rerouted their relays through him. And Hernandez was a good fielding first baseman. Made diving plays to his right and his left. He defended bunts by charging aggressively. That he discouraged opponents from attempting to bunt. By reputation. People would stop bunting against the Mets, especially with Hernandez at first base, with either Ron Darling, Roger McDowell, or Jesse Orozco on the mound. So he did it. Hernandez could pick off runners from first base by taking pickoff throws with his right foot on the bag and his left in foul territory, so he can make it worth everything and all that. But umpires would certainly enforce the defensive positioning rule, which states that all defensive players must be positioned in fair territory while the ball is pitched. Unfortunately, Hernandez would really get in trouble for the Pittsburgh drug trials because of his cocaine use and all that. So Hernandez was supposed to be suspended for the season. And it was commuted on the condition they donated 10% of the salaries to drug abuse programs, submitted to drug testing, and contributed 100 hours of community service. Hernandez says that his cocaine use was recreational and did not distribute the drug. So it was huge. The 1985 season went head-to-head. Mets and Cardinals were going for the division. Sadly, though, the Cardinals would win 101 games and get the Mets out. The Mets did have 3 guys in the top 10 in NL MVP. Gooden was 4th, Gary Carter was 6th, and Keith Hernandez was 8th in the 85 season. St. Louis placed 4 guys in the top 10. Tommy Hurd was 5th, John Tudor was 8th, while tied with Hernandez. Jack Clark was 10th, and Willie McGee, who won the trophy in the first place. Hernandez got 24 game-winning RBIs, a stat that was only official from 1980 to 1988. So yeah, 129 RBIs and all that. Hernandez actually credits his dad for helping him out a batting slump. His dad would observe his bats on TV and note that, well, when Keith was hitting well, he could see the 1 and 7 on his uniform as he strived to the pitch. So Hernandez knew to keep his numbers there. Hernandez and the Mets would win the 86 World Series, winning 108 games. Himself, he hit .310 with 83 RBIs. Hernandez actually didn't do that well in the 86 World Series, only batting .231. But in Game 7, he broke through against Bruce Hurst with a 2-run single. Another single made him 3 RBIs. Anyway, Hernandez was the poster boy for the party hard, play harder Mets of the 1980s. But anyway, it didn't matter. Hernandez was picked 4th in NL MVP voting in '86. So anyway, Hernandez won his 11th Gold Glove in 1988, which was his final one. Hernandez could not really play that well in the '88 season. He had back, knee, and hamstring problems. And then Hernandez, his batting average fell. He only played 75 games for the '89 Mets. And the Mets decided to let him go in free agency, alongside Gary Carter. Cleveland would actually sign Keith Hernandez and make him play 43 games. So he retired at the end of the season. So Hernandez was falling flat and all that. He knows everything. Keith Hernandez had the blessed German mustache, but he had shaved off for charity in 2012. I think he's kept it. Okay, but anyway, Hernandez, his legacy is huge. Batting .300 or better 7 times in his career and leading the NL runs scored 79-80 and batting average 79. 11 Gold Gloves at first base, which is a record still to this day in either league. Hernandez has a MVP award and 2 World Series titles. So anyway, in 2004, after 9 years on the ballot, Hernandez couldn't get enough support to be elected to the Hall of Fame, so his name is off the ballot. But he's now eligible for consideration by the Veterans Committee since 2011. A lot of people said that his public history of drug use may have ruined him to get in this far. Anyway, he was inducted to the Mets Hall of Fame in 1997 and the Cardinals Hall of Fame in 2021. But the Mets did the Cardinals one better by retiring as number 17 just this year. Well, Keith Hernandez was in some stuff. He was in a 1988 Sesame Street episode with Mookie Wilson to try to teach Mr. Snuffleupagus to play baseball. Hernandez actually appeared in the final episode of Seinfeld in 1998. I guess it's a background character. And he makes $3,000 a year in royalties. That's pretty good. Anyway, it happened. And all that. Of course, Hernandez's big break was on Seinfeld in the episode The Boyfriend in 1992. It was a two-parter, which Hernandez dates Elaine, and Jerry Seinfeld has a man crush on him. However, that is broken up as Kramer and Newman both claim they have a grudge against Keith Hernandez because, according to them, June 14, 1987, in the show, the Mets were playing the Phillies, and Hernandez made a critical error in the ninth inning, allowing the Phillies to win the game. And then Newman saw Hernandez in the parking lot and says, "Nice game, pretty boy." And then Hernandez spat at both Kramer and Newman. So Jerry tells them that it can't happen because how can a loogie hit two people when it's traveling and all that? Of course, they parodied JFK and the Magic Bullet theory. Of course, in real life, the Mets were playing the Pirates in Pittsburgh at the time. Anyway, yeah. However, Kramer and Newman were told by Keith Hernandez himself that it wasn't Hernandez who spat at him. It was Roger McDowell, who Kramer and Newman were heckling in the bullpen. So, technically, they were right. Someone spat on them, but they were wrong because it wasn't Hernandez. It was Roger McDowell. So, yeah. So, yeah, Keith Hernandez is still a legend in Mets circles. And will always be that way. Believe it. Anyway, I'm Jeff Diamond. I do.